Hello everyone, today I'm going to introduce the E-CAT ESI Import Tool. Before introducing the tool, I will need to explain two phrases. The first one is the EtherCAT SubDevice. The EtherCAT SubDevice is a hardware device that can be connected via EtherCAT, following main device commands to control I/O or drives for real-time industrial automation. In our scenario, the main device would be the computer, and the sub-device are the hardware device connected to the main device through the network cable. And these are the devices we would like to control via our E-CAT component. The second phrase is the ESI file. ESI means EtherCAT SubDevice Information. The file is a description of the hardware device, including all features and configuration possibilities of a device. The E-CAT component needs this file to know how to control the subdevice. So if the E-CAT component doesn't recognize the connected device, import the ESI file into the user devices database to enable recognition, and the component can then connect to the device and control it. When the file is imported by the import tool, it will be imported into a ESI database. The E-CAT component will read device data from two databases. The first is the default devices database. These devices are pre-built by interval 0 and contains ESI data for more than 1,000 devices. So if you try to connect to a device that whose ESI data already in the default devices database, then you can connect to it directly without any further things to do. If your device is not in our default devices database, then you will need to import the ESI file of the device to the user devices database. So by design, you should not modify or add any data to the default devices database, but add your own ESI file to the user device database. Also, the data in the user devices database has a higher priority than the default devices database, allowing you to set customized configuration for the device in the user device database, overriding the configuration in the default devices database. Let's start the app for demo. Start the control panel and start the E-CAT ESI Import Tool from here. From the tooltip here, you know how to view the default supported devices by selecting File, Open Default Devices Database, or if you want to add devices ESI file, then you can do File, Open User Devices Database, and click File, Add Devices from ESI. The demo, I will open the default devices database directly. I select all devices to open. The devices are listed on the left, organized by their vendor. To view a device data, just click the vendor, then click the device. There are three sections in Properties tab. First is Custom MaxRT settings. Next is Basic settings, and then Advanced settings. The first line in the Properties tab is the basic information of the device. If the device is a drive word will show before the name of the device. The following are three settings sections. The first is the Custom MaxRT settings. These sections save the settings that is not in the ESI file, so users would need to configure them manually according to the device manual. Then is the basic settings and advanced settings. The data in these two sections comes from the ESI file. Usually users don't need to modify them unless there are some errors in the ESI file. The second tab is the COE tab. Everything in this tab also comes from the ESI file. For example, the checkbox shows that the device support can open over EtherCAT, also support SDO information service. And there are two default custom initialization commands. These two commands will be executed when the device is connected to the EtherCAT network. You can add more commands according to your needs. You can add the parameter manually by clicking Add and fill in the name, object index, subindex, or you can browse the object dictionary to find the parameter you want to add to the custom initialization command. The next tab is process data. The most important settings here is the process data configuration type. Usually, E-CAT API is selected for most drives. This data configuration type allows you to use our E-CAT API to select the data you want to put into process data, which means you want to transmit these data between main device and sub-device for every EtherCAT cycle time. This is the most convenient type to select. If you have special requirement, you want to transfer some specific or some special data, you can select the manual type. Selecting this type allows you to select the specific data you want to transfer. Either transfer from the sub-device to the main device or transfer from the main device to the sub-device. For example, we see the input data, which means the data transfer from the sub-device to the main device. In manual mode, we can modify the items to be transferred. By default, it will transfer the status word and actual position, but I can add more items to transfer, like the actual velocity, actual torque, actual current, or you can even select something from the object dictionary, some very special items to transfer, like torque limit negative. The last type is the default type. This type transfers the default PTO data between the main device and sub-device. Usually, we recommend users to use the E-CAT API type if it supports. However, sometimes users may encounter some connection errors because the ESI files have some errors, like the file says it supports some customization function, but actually it doesn't. So using the E-CAT API type to connect will fail. When it happens, switching to the default type usually can solve the connection issue. There is actually another type called access mode type. This type can only be selected if PTO assignment is supported, but PTO configuration is not supported. When this type is used, the process data are selected by the access mode parameter of the E-CAT API. Different access mode will select different data to transfer. For example, you select the position access mode, then position data will be transferred between main device and subdevice. If you select position and velocity access mode, then both position and velocity data will be transferred between devices. Let's demo using this type. First, we find a device EL7047 who only support PTO assignment, not PTO configuration. So access mode is selected by default. Let's see its output data. There are 8 columns here: PVT, PV, VP, PVT, VPT. Each of the columns represents an access mode. For example, for the position mode, it will select 1601, 1602, and 1606. But for the velocity mode, it selects 1601, 1602, and 1604. Hence, different data are selected for different access mode. You can see which data is selected for each access mode. For velocity mode, control word and target velocity are selected. For position mode, control word and target position are selected. So the process data is optimized for each different access mode you select through the EtherCAT API. For I/O devices like this Edwards Micro TIM, the process data configuration types could be selected are default and manual. Like drives, the manual type is only selected if you have special data to transfer. For details configuration of each process data type, please refer to our documentation. One thing I would like to remind again is that we do not recommend you to do any modification on the default devices database, because this database will be replaced by new version when you install new version of the runtime. Any modification should happen in user devices database. You can open the user devices database from here. Import the ESI file to this database and do the modification, do the customization here. For example, I can select an ESI file, select the device to import, and click Add, and click the Save button to save this device to the user device database. And I can also modify the process data if required. After the modification and save the modification to the database, you can restart the E-CAT component to apply the new ESI data. This is the brief introduction to the ESI Import Tool. If you need to know more about all these advanced configurations, please refer to our documentation. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.